insurance industry, just getting your insurance license in general. I think it's literally a license for you to print money.
If you want to thrive and if you want to be successful.
Welcome to VIPAs, the Game Plan Call.
So let's get right into it. So today we have a very special guest. And also too, if you guys are new to the call, just make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn on your, post notifications and everything like that. And then we'll get right into it. Okay. So welcome, man. Welcome.
What's going on? Yeah, my bad. I was
We're blessed. The final expense and lead gen connoisseur, Mr. Kanoho. A little bit about Elijah, guys. This man, he's silent, but he's deadly. So that's why we wanted to get him on the call as soon as possible. He has paid $200,000 in 2024 and this is the most crazy part, as a part-time personal producer. Part-time, 200,000, right? And then in 1 month, he's also submitted $40,000 of approved premium. And then the craziest thing, just to top it all off, is that all of that AP came from self-generated leads. So that's what we're going to be going over today. So topic of discussion, I know the beginning of the month, if you guys already know, theme of the month is, SOPs, communication, and structure. So this is really going to be, diving more into like structure as a whole. It'll be, we'll be talking about that, everything, about lead gen and things like that. But Elijah, man, how are you feeling?
feeling great. Thank you for having me on the call. I appreciate you. Appreciate Harold, Samir, Omar, everybody that's kind of helped me learn and get to this point, and happy to share what I know. Hopefully it's useful for you guys.
Yes, sir. Mahalo, my man. For those who are wondering, why you guys are seeing like some of the deals are being posted at like 12 in the morning from Elijah. This man is like single in Hawaii. So he also grew up out there. So let's talk a little bit about that, man. You moved to they call it I was in Hawaii back in May, but I know that when we were out there, I think Nicholas Quintana, he's here right now. He was out there with myself, and they refer to like the US is like the mainlands, right? So I know you moved to the mainlands a few years ago, so if I'm not mistaken. So like, if you want to just talk a little bit about like what was it like growing up out there? I think you've also recently moved, if I'm not mistaken, the past couple of years, right?
Yeah, yep. Okay. So I'm out here in Vegas now.
Okay.
But yeah, I was born and raised in Hawaii. Super, super expensive out there. As you can imagine, they call it the sunshine tax. Mm-hmm. And when I ended up moving out to Vegas, the reason why I was actually able to do it was because of the insurance industry. Because I moved out here when I was like 19. I got licensed when I was 18. I'm 23 now, just for context. But yeah, it was great living in Hawaii, but the only thing is that it's really, really expensive. So if you want to live there, you've got to be right in at least 35, 40,000 a month, I would say, and you'll be able to live comfortably in Hawaii. Vegas is a little more lenient.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
I remember we were like biking through the mountains and everything. We got like these mopeds, and we were just like mopeding around the entire like island, and we'd see like these insane homes, like modern style homes, like in the mountains. It was the most insane thing. But no, for sure. I mean, gas prices, everything out there was just, through the roof. But what really prompted you to move, man? Like, I know you grew up out there. I mean, is most of your family out there right now too?
Yeah, all of my family's out there. I mean, it was just getting out of my comfort zone, exploring. The island that I'm from, Oahu, is about 30 miles by 30 miles. So it's really tiny. And, after living there for 18, 19 years, it's just, you want to branch out, you want to see things, you want to meet new people. And the thing with Hawaii too, is it's not very entrepreneurial. It's just not within their culture to, try to start businesses and make money. So a lot of like the big businesses in Hawaii and a lot of like the entrepreneurs weren't originally from there. So that's why when I came out to Vegas, I wanted to network with other people in the insurance industry, other entrepreneurs and business owners in general, just to learn and, really level up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. So like let me ask you this though. So like I know, we're seeing these late night deals being posted, man. What's the market out there in Hawaii like for what we specialize in?
I mean, Hawaii is a cheat code, man. Hawaii is a cheat code. First of all, the license is expensive, so not a lot of people get it. The time zone is weird, so it's 3 hours back from from PST. So
Hmm.
you could continue calling all the way if you're on the West Coast, you could continue calling all the way up until like 10 at night, which other agents aren't doing. So it just gives you a competitive edge. If you ever want to have a competitive edge for telesales, I think Hawaii is one of those unique places because there's just not as much agents working there.
Hmm. And that you say there's a real need for what we specialize in out there,
I can only speak on final expense just because
huh? Right.
not very well versed with mortgage protection or anything like that. But yeah, Hawaii is a very family oriented place. They're super family oriented. That's embedded deeply into their culture.
Mhm.
So I mean, almost everybody in Hawaii will have some sort of funeral plan or they'll have some sort of final expense policy.
For
So
sure. Gotcha.
definitely
Gotcha.
helps.
For sure, man. Beautiful place for sure. I mean, when we were out there, the biggest thing, I mean, I think we were in like the resort area, right? But any place that you go to when you travel, I know it's still part of the US, but I mean honestly, it's unlike anything in the mainlands per se. So like when we went out there, Nico and I we were talking, and we're like, look, man, if we're out here, we're not here to like just be on this resort. Like, let's go explore, let's go talk to the locals, let's go like get really immersed in the culture because that's like the beautiful part about it, right? So we did a really like we made it like our goal. We swam with sharks. We, had like a lot of like the local fruit there too, like the sugar cane juice and the passion fruit and all that. It's insane. So I mean, it was amazing. Great experience for sure. Honestly, I'd recommend anybody to go out there for sure. Now, talking about final expenses as a whole. Now, you were able to working part time. Let's talk about this. This is like the most insane thing. You were working part time and still made six figures in income last year. So let's talk about how you were able to do that. Like, what were you, like, first of all, like, how, when you're talking about part time, like, what exactly were you like keeping your time occupied with? And like, what does your schedule really look like to be able to like write that much amount of business? Because it's not every day that you see, part time agents being able to write that great deal of business working part time. Because as we already know, guys, I mean, this business doesn't even revolve around our schedule, right? It revolves around the client schedule. Because as we already know, morning is the best time to be able to prospect, set appointments for the rest of the day. People are leaving for work and they get home from work in the evening, and that's when you're most of the time closing them down. So yeah, talk a little bit more about that, man. Like, what were you keeping your time occupied with, and like, what did your schedule really look like?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the insurance industry, just getting your insurance license in general, I think it's literally a license for you to print money.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with telesales nowadays, it was such a big game changer once the whole industry switched over to that, where you can jump on one 45-minute phone call and then come out the other end with 1,000 in AP, 1,200 in AP, and that was a huge game changer for me. So when it comes to writing a lot of business in a shorter amount of time, it's just a game of efficiency. So it's just about having more spend, being able to be more efficient in the times that you're working. That way you don't need to put in those 10-hour days on just personal production, and you can use 6 hours in your day to sell and to make your income. You can use the other portion of your day to focus on growing a business, which
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what you're doing super amazing at with you and your team, hiring agents and scaling your agency. Um, I think, I mean, that should be the goal. I mean, the goal for me was never to sell for the next, 10, 15 years. The goal was always to be able to build a business and to, eventually have systems and processes and a company that works for me, even if I'm not there putting in the hours every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I spent the other half of my time on was building businesses.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Okay. So like what you said, so were you doing like other business outside of here, or like, that contributed to be able to have the income to create those systems for yourself here? So that way you can open up your schedule a little bit.
Yeah, so it's still in the insurance industry. I mean, I want to start recruiting. That's probably one of the biggest things that I'm focused on now moving forward into to 2025. seeing a lot of getting a lot of inspiration from you actually, just seeing what you and your team do and the culture that you've been able to build. And like you guys are always the first on Zoom, the last on Zoom. I mean, I commend you, bro. You're crushing it with your team and your culture.
It's nothing major, man. See, this is the one thing that we always say, right? It's like, for VIPA as a whole, it's like it's one thing to bring someone into our organization, but it's another thing to lead them, right? So it's like, and we are nothing without our people, right? Like our people, like I'm nothing without them at the end of the day. So it's like, it's a meeting of minds. It's a conversation that's had about what it takes in order for you to be successful here, and we just keep it very real, right? Like we let them know, like, look, if it's similar to your situation, you've already jumped to like that next level where you have the opportunity with your, access to capital, your experience, where you can just set yourself up in a way where you just have to get on presentations all day. You've already hit the glitch, right? A lot of people, when they come in the business, the first thing is that they need that access to capital, right? So either I say this in every single call, but time or money, right? But clarity is a big piece too. So like when you're first coming in, we make sure that people need to know how much income they need in order for them to create that sort of system. So whether that's to set up appointment setters, whether that's to jump on inbound leads, whatever it may be, to be able to just focus on getting on presentations all day and just closing. That's the end goal for everybody, right? Dialing and all that, that's like the beginning step. You dial because you need to be able to get that access to capital, and you need to put in that sweat equity in order for you to be able to have the capital to be able to get to the appointment setters and all that stuff, right? That's the first thing. So once you get that, now you can start integrating with systems like a CRM and all these things that just set appointments for you. And then at that point, you really enjoy your money. But the thing is, I think we can both agree on this, is the fact that like this business does not slow down for anybody, right? Like even if you're making a whole lot of money, like it's a great great aspect. You're protecting families, amazing, but you just can't slow down, right? So as soon as you make the money, make sure you're monitoring. This is for everybody as a whole, like monitoring your expenses, monitoring your personal P&L. And then if you want to go enjoy yourself on a trip to Aruba, right? It's a $2,000 ticket for one person. You go out to Aruba for 3 days, Central Time Zone. Go enjoy yourself, and you can even and at that point you get to a point where you're just in Aruba, you're taking a call, closing the deal in Aruba. How cool would that feel? I'm sure you probably felt that too, right? I mean, if you traveled and being able to close like while being able to travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I travel, I try to get like one or two apps in. Like I said, it's almost like a license to print money in my eyes. So if I spend 2K on travel expenses, I know if I can close two deals, then I can make back, everything that I spent on going on the trip, either right before hopping on the plane or the day before or while I'm there. If I have, an extra 3 to 6 hours where I'm just chilling, try to make the money back. Why not?
It's huge, man. It's huge. But the first step for everybody, let's talk about that too. Like, how were you able to like get that access to capital to be able to like allocate it to create this system for yourself? Like, were you working? Were you like, did you like get some seed money? Like, how did that happen? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, exactly like you said, you either have time or you have time or you have money. I had time. I started when I was 18. That's when I was first licensed, started at the practice company. Obviously didn't have all of the lead expenditures or I have to reinvest into the business. Everything was kind of, low comp in exchange for resources. So I put in the hours, every day I was at the office from 8, leaving the field at 8, back when it was in home. And then I was able to make my money from there. And then when I moved over into broker model, it wasn't an issue for me to actually spend money.
Gotcha. And how long have you been in the industry? I think it's like 4 or 5 years now, or
Yeah, coming up on 5,
huge,
actually.
almost on your way to being a vet, man. It's huge. Good deal.
I don't feel like it. There's so much to learn, man. Just speaking to people like you and being a part of this team recently, I just realized like how much of a deficit there is and what I need to know to actually be a very well-rounded agent. So excited to be here, excited to learn from everybody and grow, man.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. The best leaders are the best students. Remaining a student. That's another big piece too, man. It's like, it's easy to, once you're making a lot of money, we talk about this all the time. It's like when you're making a lot of money, it's easy to stop listening. It's easy to think that you're the kingpin, you're the top of the world, right? But that humility piece goes such a long way, man. And the fact that you come on this call, we respect that greatly as a whole, man. But you know, it's definitely a big piece. So let's talk about this though. So like, you know, what leads did you like? So I know you talked about you were at the practice company, right? So you've also been, you know, generating your own leads, talk about access to capital, all these things. So like, what leads did you start calling before like transitioning into like creating your own leads? And like, you know, how did you even learn about self-generated leads as a whole? Like, how did that come to fruition?
Yeah, man. There's so many resources like for the self-generated lead things. There's so much resources out there for, agents to, throw up a Facebook ad. You could watch like a 1 hour tutorial and you could throw up a Facebook ad. And instead of paying, 15, $20 a lead from a lead vendor that may or may not be giving you fresh exclusive leads, I mean, you could probably be generating leads for sub $10 within like an hour or 2 hours. It's actually not as complicated as most people make it seem. I think lead vendors try to make it sound, like this crazy huge thing, but in reality, I mean, you click a couple of buttons and you can get an ad going in again an hour or 2 hours or so. I would recommend watching a YouTube video on it. There's a lot of great ones. If you guys are ever to search up some tutorials from like where I learned, I would recommend Johnny Nitafan. He has a super good tutorial on Facebook ads, and Justin Baum Egan. Um, you could literally watch that tutorial through and through. It's about an hour, hour 30, and you could have, your own leads up and running in, again, an hour.
So yeah, we've heard of Mr. Netafan. He's in everyone's face. He's everywhere. He's like all over social media.
Great guy, good friend of mine. He's one of the sharpest people I've ever met in the final expense industry, and he's one of the best with lead generation on Facebook. So if there's anybody to learn from, it's him, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna get a little bit more in like, you know, systems like, and I know we see a lot of like ads, right? There's so many, you know, sort of life insurance ads, you know, even Johnny Ninifan, like his personal ads, right? Like of him, you know, sort of putting people, some of his like successful clients in front of his page to promote himself. But you know, we see a lot of ads about like life insurance everywhere, and like some people would even say that like self-generated leads is like pretty saturated, and a lot of these marketing agencies aren't even really doing what they say they're doing in terms of numbers. And I think we can agree on that, right? But, you know, what would you say like sets your ad specifically, you know, apart from everybody else's?
I mean, to be 100% honest with you, I've been on both sides of the coin. I've created ads that were, trying to be different from the market and trying to advertise at a unique angle. And I've also run ads that are, similar to every other final expense ad out there, $25,000 benefit, burial, social security, those types of ads. And what I found is the biggest differentiator isn't going to be your ads, but it's going to be your skill in sales. Like that's number one. I don't care how good of an ad you have, or how good the marketing is, or how different it is. At the end of the day, if you can't close, it's not going to work. So what I always recommend to people that are starting brand new is like Ayaan said, you either have time or you have money. The cheapest leads that you're going to be able to get are, those ads that you're used to seeing, like the casket. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Facebook ads, but like the casket, or like the 25,000 starting at $1 a day. Those types of ads are going to be able to generate you, sub $10 leads. And yeah, you're going to have to dial. Yeah, you're going to have to, cut your teeth and get kicked in the face a bunch, but it's all part of the process. And if you can learn to, generate income off of leads like that, then you're going to be set no matter what. So I would say getting your sales skills down specifically was more helpful than any marketing tactic you could learn.
No doubt, no doubt. And that's, I mean, you see so many times, man, like, you know, agents come into the business and then like, you know, we've talked about this too, even with like new MP, right? Like new MP, it's like $80 a lead, but every lead you have to be able to work the lead, right? It's the same thing with an agent too, right? Like everyone wants the perfect agent. You bring an agent into an organization, you want them to have a full-time schedule, you want them to come in with money, you want them to come in with sales experience. I mean, it's ludicrous, right? Like it's this is not how that works. Maybe you'll find the unicorns, you know, or a needle in a haystack, you know, here and there, but you know, two things for sure. One thing for certain is that like you have to be able to, you know, work those leads. I totally agree with you in that regard. So like, in terms of like responses though, like I think your leads are more so targeting like final expense only, right?
Yeah, I'm final
Okay.
expense only.
Okay, got you. So like typical with like final expense, what are you seeing in terms of like, you know, retention, in terms of like responses, and then like let's do a little bit of like role play too. Like what kind of, responses are you getting, and what are the most like common rebuttals you typically get on final expense? Because I know right now this is like a really good time to have this kind of conversation with everyone, just because of the fact that with like, all this stuff that's going on with MP, our bread and butter for this organization is MP, right? And that's obviously, still going to be there, but it's going to be a little bit different moving forward. So getting people to understand like what to expect when it comes to talking to final expense, what can they really expect? What is like, take me to a little bit of a sit.
Yeah, I mean, biggest one, in the intro, getting your intro strong is probably where I would recommend allocating a huge chunk of your effort, especially if you're just starting. Because if you don't have a strong intro, like if your intro sucks, then you're not even going to present anyways, or you're going to be presenting way less than you would be provided that your intro is really strong. So I would recommend learning all of the basic objections that everybody is used to getting. Like, oh, I didn't fill this out, or like, oh, I'm not interested anymore, or oh, you guys keep calling me. Like those types of objections are super common, especially with any sort of internet final expense lead, because these guys are seniors, they're 60 to 80. They don't necessarily remember what they filled out. They've probably seen a few different things and are getting calls from a couple of other agents. Um, so really, really honing in on your intro and being able to just move past those objections flawlessly is really going to help you. The way that I like to think of the presentation is like a train that doesn't stop going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like when somebody gives you an objection, you want to be able to acknowledge it, overcome it, and then keep moving forward,
I got
especially in the beginning. So, so important. If you get
you.
all caught up or you stop, it's like, oh, I'm not interested. And then you just like jumble up and you don't know how to move past it. You're just going to get, I mean, you're just going to get crushed. You really need a strong intro.
Absolutely, man. Closing starts in the beginning. That's when the closing,
Exactly.
closing starts. So you get all the objections. If you did your let me know what you think about this. But we talk about like, for the organization, like if you did everything right, the only objection you should get when you pitch numbers is I can't afford it, right? Because if they tell you I need to think about it, you didn't give them enough information in the beginning. If they tell you I need to talk to my husband or my wife, you didn't get the spouse, you didn't engage the spouse, or you didn't have the spouse there, right? It's like all those main objections can be avoided in the beginning of the conversation. Let's do a little bit of role play. You cool with that?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm looking for final expense.
Are you
Uh,
calling me? What is this, an inbound or is this
yeah,
outbound?
yeah. No, let's just say it's just like a regular lead. How would it go? Like how would you do it? Like let's say I'm the
Okay, so it'd be
client.
like, ring, ring. Hey, Ion.
Yeah, what's up? Who's this?
Yeah, Ion, this is Elijah. I'm just getting back to you on the information you requested for the final expense life insurance coverage. It looks here that you had put down your beneficiary as Mary. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's my wife.
Okay, gotcha. And then it looks like your birthday down here was 10/24/1965. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, sure is.
Perfect. Yeah. So again, I'm just calling to let you know that we finally processed that request for you. Thank you so much for your patience. We take care of this for you guys on the phone now. So it only takes a couple of minutes. Go ahead and grab a pen and paper and let's knock this out.
Okay, excellent. I'm not actually at home right now. I'm not with Mary.
Oh, you're not with your wife right now?
Yeah, I'm not with her.
Oh, okay. Where you working?
Yeah, yeah, I'm at work right now.
Gotcha. Hey, what time do you finish work?
I'll be off at like 5.
At 5. Okay, let me see here. Um, they got me booked up at 5, but I can try to give you a call at 6 or right before I leave the office at 7. What
Mhm.
time's going to be easier for you and Mary?
I'd say 6. 6 works.
6? Okay. So I got you down for 6 and I'll give you and Mary a call then.
Perfect. Let's do it. That's bravo, man. That's fire. And I threw you a curveball too, and you handled it. Yeah,
Yeah,
typically
man.
no single legs. That's how I know you're experienced. If you guys are new here, make no single legs whatsoever. That's fire.
One thing I want to say,
Mm.
because I know for MP and for other bigger policies like IUL leads or anything like that, having both spouses is the standard for me, to be 100% honest with you. I will pitch somebody as a one-legger.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
On final expense?
On final expense. Yeah. Because
Really?
I've just found that, I mean, again, I have no experience. I see a Hall of Fame producer and they're saying he pitches one-leggers on
Yeah.
MP, maybe, but I don't know. I've just found that when you turn people away, especially for final expense, where their show rate is so low on sets, that I'm better off just pitching and potentially dealing with the objection that I need to talk to my spouse because there's so many ways to overcome that objection and it still opens you for the opportunity to present. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why on that call there, when I said, yeah, I'll call you at 6 and I don't do any cementing tactics, I used to, but I found that the show ratio is so low
Mm-hmm.
that for me, instead of trying to set like a solid appointment, I'll just set up like a follow-up window. So it's like
Mm,
I'll call them sometime after 6. I just need to know when they're done with work,
I see.
basically.
Got you. Okay. So you are wait, that's unique, man, because typically, we do teach that, they shouldn't do single legs. But so let me ask you this then. So how were you talk a little bit about that? So you say when you get that, how common is that, would you say? Like out of let's say you pitch 10 people, single leg them all, how many times out of 10 are you gonna get that? I need to talk to my spouse objection. And then like how are you handling that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would get it maybe 1 to 3 out of 10, just depending on, the week. But yeah, when somebody says they want to talk to their spouse, it's like, hey, Ion, you know what? I completely understand. It's very important to, pick the option that's going to fit you and Mary the best. But what most people do in your situation is they start with the basic plan, right? Like maybe the 10,000 or the 15,000. That way, at least you know that those burial expenses are covered. And like you said, that's sort of the main concern for you, right? Is making sure nobody's paying for the burial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, most people start with that 10,000. That way they know that it's covered. And then after you talk to Mary, it turns out that she wants to go with the 20,000 or bump it up to the 15,000. We can always do that for you later. You're not stuck at the 10, but let's at least get you covered for the 10,000. That way Mary's not financially burdened with the burial costs. Would that help you out?
Yeah. Yeah, sure would.
Perfect. Boom, app. And then if they give me another objection, like, yeah, but I just need to talk to her before this thing starts, then usually I'll just be like, yeah, hey, what we're doing is we're just trying to see if we can actually get you approved for the coverage, and you get to select that date,
Mm-hmm.
for that coverage to actually take effect. When do you think you'd be able to talk to Mary?
Mm-hmm. I'll talk to her probably right after this call.
Oh, okay. So that works. What we can do is we can make sure that you're actually approved for the coverage first. That way you have something to talk about with Mary. Like I said, you can make adjustments between now and then if she decides she needs a little bit more coverage.
Okay.
Would that
Gotcha.
help you out?
Yeah, sure will.
And then
Gotcha.
just move forward. That's how I handle it.
Got you. Okay, so you're just locking in the age and the health. Doing the age and the health, right? So like,
I try to avoid it at first.
mm,
Um, try to just down close first.
mm,
And then if I have to do like a soft close,
mm.
then I usually resort to that on like the second or third objection.
Got you. Got you. It's fire, man. Fire. Appreciate the insight. That's super. It's unique, man. I mean, never really. I would have never thought. I mean, we just started. And you've helped me out a great deal with the Facebook. Leads, and they're really good. I think the biggest thing is just like you said, right? That show ratio is absolutely. Oh man, it's not the best, right? But it makes sense though. It makes sense why you would take that approach. And honestly, I think it's something that we can all learn from. The decision maker is a huge piece too, right? Making sure the decision makers with the spouse are there. I think it's pretty relative. But now if you were to teach someone too, like going back to like what we are talking about, like running ads, things like that. Like if you were to teach someone, like how to run their own marketing, like what kind of advice would you give them to like get them started and like most importantly keep them going too? So I think that's a
Yeah,
big.
yeah, I gotcha. So when it comes to all like the little technicals, like the button clicky things, and like this is how you set up an ads manager, and this is how you create an ad, I would recommend watching a YouTube tutorial for that. Those are going to be the big thing that's going to get you 80% of like the actual technical skills to throw up a Facebook ad. But in terms of just like marketing, like marketing 101, I would recommend allocating a serious amount of budget towards it. So this is not something where I would recommend you come into, you try to spend $100 and pray for the best. I would set aside, 1,500, maybe 2,000, give yourself a decent amount of time to actually test, like 2, 3 weeks or so, test just like any other lead source. You want to get the hang of it. You want sufficient volume. And then testing. Testing is the number one thing when it comes to marketing. Like you want to be creating, like for me, when I'm firing on outbound, I'm testing 2 or 3 different image ads and maybe like 1 video ad a week. When I'm spending, anytime I'm spending like $150 to $200 a day, I'm testing like crazy because you want to find winning ads. That's the whole point of like any sort of direct response marketing, whether that's YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, is finding winning ads. And the only way that you do that is by allocating enough budget for you to test, have losing ads, and then find the winners. And if you get a winner though, I mean, like I've been able to have winning ads that are, generating me sales at less than $100 per application because the lead cost is so low. So
that's huge. That's huge. Now, how long would you say like you're running these, like, let's just call them case studies? Like, how long are you running the case studies? Like, gauge if like the ad is a winning ad or not? Because I mean, I can imagine there's a lot of like, there's a big factor in terms of like, understanding like that's a data piece, right? Like we need to consider that. It's like, how long are you usually like gauging that for? Like a day, 2 days, a week, month? How long?
2 to 3 days. It's very fast. Facebook's algorithm is so good with, finding the right people and showing your ad to the correct person that within 2 to 3 days, I mean, if your lead cost is higher than what you were trying to get it at, I mean, you're going to know instantly. 2 to 3 days, test it out, kill the losers quick, scale the winners fast. That's probably the big thing is like when you find a winner, don't hesitate to put more money towards it. Just like any business, this business is a game of returns, right? So even if you got 1,000% return, but you only put $200 in ad spend for the month, you're gonna make 2,000 in a month. That's like minimum wage salary essentially. But you guys, I'm assuming most people didn't come here for a minimum wage salary. So it's a game of returns. You have to understand that once you get a winner, once you're profitable, once you're selling policies and making profit, that you need to dump as much money in there as you can, within reason, right, where you're actually able to still work the leads. But it's a game of returns. Even if you spend 2,000 and you get 1,000% return, now you're making some good money. But you have to be willing to put your chips on the table when it matters.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. Okay, so you say 2, 3 days, then that's fine. Makes sense. That's actually not terrible whatsoever. But I love that line, man. You said, kill the losers quick, scale the winners fast.
Scale the winners fast. Yep. If I get a winning ad, I'll pump it up to $200 a day instantly. 2, 3 days, damn, this thing's doing good. Up to $200 a day.
Huge. Okay. Now, if this is not too much to ask, would you be open to giving out some secrets, maybe like, special keywords, backlinks, lucrative ads, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing too secretive about Facebook ads, but this is the biggest secret that I could probably give you. Facebook, as well as Google, for anybody that's in the Google space, I'm not, but Facebook as well as Google have something called ad libraries. And what that is any active advertiser on the Facebook platform or on the Google platform, you can actually look them up. So for example, if you wanted to find like happy agent leads ads, you could actually go onto Facebook ad library. I'll put the link in the chat. And you can see all of the ads that are performing well. So here, let me put this in chat. Here's one of the most successful people in the final expense industry, David Duford, with the Dig Agency. I'll link the Facebook ad library with the Duford Agency's winning Facebook ads. So it's all public information. So you could actually go look at somebody's ad, can find somebody that's already winning, and then you can create your own version of that ad. I wouldn't rip their ads, right? That's just, first of all, it's unethical. And second of all, you're going to get banned from Facebook if you just steal people's ads. But you can get inspiration. You can understand what works, why it works, create your own version of it, and then launch it on the Facebook ads platform. But yeah, that's the Facebook ads library. That's the biggest key I could give you. Because I mean, that's what helps me out the most. Anytime I'm looking to create a new ad or I'm looking for inspiration, I look at people that are already winning. I create my own variation of it.
Got you. It's huge, man. Goes back to it again, right? You're still a student. This is huge, man. Constantly trying to refine your process. That's what it takes. So love that, man. Now you've also, if I'm not mistaken, you've been running inbound leads now, which is also heavily embedded in like the Facebook market, FEX, final expense market, right? So like, how's that going for you? And like, how would you compare those to like Facebook leads that you're running right now, since they target the same market?
Very similar. I would say in terms of like the presentation process, nothing has really changed. Obviously, with inbounds, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. But I think it's the easiest way for an average agent to start producing, 8 to 10K a week, because it cuts out the dialing process. I think the dialing process is the hardest for most agents. So with that part of the equation being taken out, it allows you to get much faster feedback loops. Because I mean, you guys know the game. When you first start, it's the race to 100 presentations. That's how you get better, right? You need feedback loops. You need to take swings. And I think with inbounds, it's just a much quicker way for you to do that. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Presenting to the same person, same objection, same everything. The only difference is you don't have the dialing part in the front.
No doubt. Yeah, I think it gets you to like that level, that next level, right? What we talked about earlier of being able to just get on, presentations the whole day, close down the presentations. Obviously, with inbound, you have to like work the shift and things like that. But no doubt, man. I think it's a huge piece because but the first step is learning how to close, right? Because like you said, if you don't know how to close, you don't know how to talk to clients, you got to be able to, put in that sweat equity, understand how to call the hard leads. We were actually watching this Alex Hormozy video. If you guys go on YouTube, I can't remember what it was called. It was like one of his more recent videos that he posted, but he was just going in like the first 30 minutes was literally just him talking about the importance of, newer agents. The first step for them is like learning how to close, right? And like you feed your leads, to the agents who have already established themselves. But even people who are experienced have all had to start with lower intent. There's no such thing as lower quality or higher quality. It's lower intent or high intent, right? The quality is in yourself, right? Not you, but just everyone as a whole, right? So like giving those, this is what we talked about, is like giving the leads to people who are like understanding how to close. But even the people who know how to close, they also have to start on lower intent first to be able to have, the understanding to be able to handle those more qualified objections. Right. I think the name of the video is called Hear, Sales, All of It, Enjoy. He posted it 2 weeks ago, Alex Hormozy. So it's huge. Suggest that anybody here watch that, like absolutely watch that, especially any new agents here. Please watch that. We watched this. Watch the first 30 minutes. But no, definitely that's huge, man. So it's good to see that you're crushing it. How are you? I think you're doing you did like 20K last week or something, or like almost 20K.
No. I did 13. I did 13. Yeah.
13K is insane. In a 1 week is still crazy.
Appreciate you.
It's good to see that you're crushing it, man. I think you've had a great inspiration to everybody here. What would you say, like, in terms of predictions for the future of our industry as a whole?
In terms of just the insurance industry in general? Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Let me ponder that for a second.
Yeah, digest it.
I think this is definitely a huge shift that I've seen since I had started, is as telesales, became the new meta, you're just starting to see younger and younger people coming into the market, and you're starting to see more disruptors, and you're starting to see more innovators that are coming into the space and making changes. I always thought that the insurance industry was always like 10, 20 years behind what the rest of the market was doing. And we're starting to see that with like Facebook now becoming the new meta for leads, right? And I think there's so much opportunity for people to capitalize and to innovate on the insurance market and to take inspiration from other industries. For example, I think one of the biggest opportunities for agency builders is recruiting through Facebook ads, because it's always been like there are people that sell, $5,000 courses, $10,000 courses, teaching people how to make money with Facebook ads, with YouTube ads, and you guys can offer the same opportunity to others that are looking to make money online, or to have their own business per se, or to finally not work like a 9 to 5 without charging a $5,000 fee. You could just do that with Facebook ads. Like, imagine how much more response you would be able to get if you were able to promote that as an opportunity for free on Facebook. So I know Harold is crushing it with it. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been looking at the welcome chat, but he's been hiring like a madman. Showed me his schedule. It's booked all the way through, every 30 minutes on interviews just from Facebook recruiting. So I think identifying those opportunities from other industries, seeing what's working and applying it to the insurance industry, because we're so far behind. I think that's a massive opportunity, and that's where I see the market going eventually, is becoming just as competitive as any other industry. But right now in 2025, I think it's a huge opportunity for somebody to come in and be a part of that innovation and growth.
Undoubtedly, man. I couldn't agree with you more. We talked about this too. It's like, honestly, we compare this like the .com boom back in like 2008, right? Where like all these early seed, like, these early investors were like throwing seed money at all the startups, right? I'm saying all this to say like the strong will survive, right? Like, luckily here we have such a great infrastructure and like a foundation to be able to like sustain and like also, prove time and time again that any new agent we bring in here, we can get them to start cracking right away, right? Within their, like, the industry average to get an agent to drop their first deal is like 3 months, 90 days to 6 months, right? In most organizations. Whereas here, most agents are dropping multiple deals in their first month, right? They're getting licensed in the same month, and they're dropping a deal in their first month. Like, that's insane, right? So like, comparing it to like the .com boom, you also start to see like with those early startups, most of them failed, right? Most of them failed because like they didn't have the infrastructure, they didn't have the foundation. They didn't have like, a well thought out like process. But, comparing it to now, like you said, talk about telesales, people were door knocking for, what we specialize in, not even less than 5 years ago. Right. And now all these e-apps have come through, and you see a lot of these other organizations, they're doing really well on paper, but the infrastructure just might not be there. Right. Like, it's a big thing. Right. We always tell, like, when you guys, when you do the interview process of bringing in an agent, and I do this, have this conversation with every agent, it's like, it's not just an interview process from, the leaders of the organization to the agent. It's an interview process from the agent to the leader as well, right? So like, take your time in interviewing different agencies, because there's no such thing as good or bad, right? There's organizations that have been able to, build their organizations from solely calling family and friends. There's organizations that have been able to build their organizations from, small comp and, decent salary, right? And then there's obviously our model, which is like, it's a free for all, right? But, there's different strokes for different folks, right? Biggest thing is just, taking your time, assess, who is doing what, and whether or not that aligns with your values. But that's a huge point, man. I'm glad to know that, we're on the same page in that regard. What kind of advice would you like give to like new agents that are coming into this industry as a whole?
Dial. 100%. It's just about consistency. You need to get the reps in. So, I mean, dial as with as much time as you have. When I had first started, I was working from 8 to 8, and that really exponentially increased my learning curve. I think my first year in the insurance industry at 18 years old, I was able to make like a little over 50,000 or something in net income. And the only reason I was able to do that is because I just grinded, Saturdays, Monday through Friday, 8 to 8, and then Saturday, like 9 to 5. Because you just need to get the reps in. That's the only way that you learn. just like anything, you can't read a book about sales and expect to jump on the phone and be able to do sales. It's like you need to get objections and you need to present and you need to get told no. It's all part of the process. So dial a lot if you can, spend a lot consistently. If not a lot, at least consistently. Consistency is the number one thing. That's the biggest thing that's going to help you over the course of time is having every part of your process be consistent because it all averages out. In the beginning, it's going to feel super turbulent. You know, it's going to look like it's peaks and valleys in business, right? It's going to be like, yeah, one day I made like 2 sales. Oh, this day I made 0 sales, and then I made 0 sales for the next 3 days, and then this day I made another sale. It's going to look super turbulent, but over the course of time, as long as you're consistent, as long as you're spending the same amount on leads, if not more over time, and as long as you're committing to the same schedule and actually working and dialing during those times, that inconsistency is going to start looking more consistent over the course of time.
No doubt.
Does that make sense? The peaks and valleys look much smaller. They look like little bumps when you look at it over the course of 3 months. So try not to get too caught up in the day-to-day. Remember to stay consistent. And without a doubt, I think this is the easiest way for somebody to come in and be able to make a full-time income, without working a 9 to 5 and without grinding. As long as you just put in the work over time, know that it's going to be a grind in the beginning, and getting on the other side where you're fully developed with your sales skills, your marketing skills, if that applies to you. And then hopefully growing a team if that's what you want to do.
Yep. So it's about condensing those inputs, right? The time it takes from someone to, jump into an organization and get them to pop off, right? It's like paying off the ignorance debt is a huge piece, right? Like if you're new to sales specifically, if you're new to any industry, even if you have sales experience, any new industry that you go into, whether you're selling cars, whether you're selling, doing door-to-door roofing, or even getting into insurance as a whole, there's going to be a new product. There's going to be a different sales process, right? So being able to humble yourself and understand that that first step, right, is paying off the ignorance debt. The time it takes for you to understand how the business works. And typically, if you're working your schedule, right, which is why, you're as successful as you are now. I mean, you're putting in 12, 14 hours a day in the beginning, your first year in the business, right? Being 18, there's no doubt in my mind, there's no surprise as to why you're writing the kind of business that you're writing, right? And now it's you have a pulse. You have a pulse on how much you need to spend in order for you to, get to, how much you need to make, right? Would you say that? You kind of have an understanding of how much you spend in order for you to understand how much you need to make? You have
exactly.
A pulse, right?
Yep. Once you know your numbers, it's just about increasing spend.
Yep. In the fight game too, they call it flow state. You get in that flow, and you start to see everything that's coming at you, right? So it's a huge piece, man. You have to get that pulse. And I definitely great insight there. Before we conclude today, I mean, any book recommendations you would give to anybody who's either trying to run ads, and sort of giving advice for new agents, anything like that?
$100 million leads. I don't know if you can see that. You can't see it. $100 million leads.
You got the hardcover copy? Huge.
I did. Yeah, I got it. $100 million leads and $100 million offers are, I mean, it's a little less applicable for our industry, but I'd still recommend reading it. Those 2 books changed my life, and it changed the perspective about how I look at business and marketing as a whole. So
huge, man. Yeah,
that's what I'd recommend.
More game, man. $100 million leads, guys. Check it out. It's by Alex Hormozi. Other than that, though, I think we're good for today, man. So I appreciate you for joining us today, Elijah. We're going to open up for questions here in a minute. But thank you guys for all attending another game plan call. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, everything like that. We have a YouTube channel and everything like that. So just engage over there. But other than that, though, appreciate you for joining us today, Elijah.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.